It was try and keep the audience comfortable and slowly just keep pushing them back into the confrontation. Jordan would get so frustrated he'd leave, but I wanted to feel like you wanted to leave with him, so I'd squeeze the audience into that position that Jordan was in, and then you just start suffocating the audience.
Recently, I got to sit down with my friend Jason Head, who's an amazing cinematographer, producer, and director of documentaries. If you haven't seen his documentary Fighting for Daybreak that I was a producer on, check it out. The link is in the description. I got to sit down and talk with him about the cinematography of his feature debut, the underdog success that was Nefarious. Jason is one of my best friends, so we were hanging out all day, and basically time got away from us, and at the very end of the day, we decided to do this interview, but we couldn't find a spot that was quiet because we have 4 children between the 2 of us, so naturally we ended up in the bathtub.
That's actually working pretty good.
In this video, we talk about everything from lighting setups to camera movement philosophy to writing, and towards the end of the video, Jason gives us his 3 main reasons why he thinks Nefarious was a success. So into our conversation with Jason Head. So I Googled what camera was Nefarious shot on, and something popped up that said it was the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. Did you shoot Nefarious on the Pocket 4K?
I wish.
He's a master manipulator. You have your head so twisted around you think you're the killer, not him.
We shot it on the Arri Alexa Mini. We used a set of Panavision Super Speeds, and that was kind of the choices that were given to me to do the project. I'd never used those lenses before, for sure, and for the most part, we didn't have any time. We were 4 days behind schedule. When they pulled me into the project, I had 2 days of prep, and I just kind of put the lenses on there. It had this very de-digitized kind of feel to it. We didn't have any filters on the front of the lens other than just standard ND filters.
What was your kind of like philosophy for approaching a story like this? If you haven't seen the movie, it's very much a My Dinner with Andre with Demons kind of story. It's a possession story, it's an interrogation story. There's some level of thriller and crime elements to it, but a lot of it is conversation in one particular location. People talk about contained thrillers all the time. This is certainly in that category. What was your philosophy and like what was your ethos approaching this type of story with the camera work?
It wasn't that complicated for me. Like, as much as I wanted to channel Roger Deakins or, Greg Fraser or something, put a bunch of theory in there, I just didn't have the time for that. So I met Sean and Jordan, and they seem to have the same caliber of, intellect. Like, they're both very intelligent people. So after the rehearsal, I was just kind of like, these guys don't need a ton of tricks. They don't need these big cameras. Those would be cool. I didn't have time for them. And so I just did cross coverage. Essentially, if you watch the beginning of the film, I'm kind of out a bit. I stay away from them, and then I slowly start creeping in. We get to the part where Sean started talking about Satan's plan for the world. Chuck Konzelman, he was calling it the grand cosmological explanation for everything. And so I knew this was a key pivotal part that they really wanted to capture. So essentially, I kept moving the camera. They'd be sitting there, and I kept moving the camera closer and closer to them to get to this part. So it was kind of like, long, like Fincher does this a bit. He'll shoot the confrontation a little farther away. But the Coen brothers will stick it right up in your face. They'll put you in between. And Deakins loves that too. And so I just mixed both of them. And I was like, just start kind of far away, like you could breathe. And then you just start suffocating the audience into the conflict.
And when you say move in, you're talking about moving in forward, like towards the action, but also off eye line onto eye line.
Correct. I kept squeezing the cameras in, and then so eventually we'd start on the sides, and then I'd move a little closer, and then we'd set a place for each actor to look close to the lens, and then it would kind of feel like they were staring down the barrel. But I'd reserve that to the moment it was like time to deliver like a strike, to the point where Jordan would get so frustrated he'd leave, but I wanted to feel like you wanted to leave with him, so I'd squeeze the audience into that position that Jordan was in. So when he left, like, they wanted him to leave. He wanted to get out of the room. And it broke up, it gave it some diversity, because you're in a room for forever in this movie. So doing that, knowing I didn't have the ability to do a ton of movement, it was kind of like the simplicity of just kind of feeling like the walls are caving in slowly.
So you get Nefarious, you're on there, you're 4 days behind already, and AD's like, we got to make up time. So you choose cross coverage. And then something happens that I've never heard of. You shot 17 pages in one day.
I didn't know how far we would get, but we needed basically to shoot 4 days worth of content in a day. Normally you could get like 4 or 5, pages in a day.
And that's fast.
Yeah, like you work with actors all throughout the years and stuff like that, and I had never worked with anybody of their caliber before. So watching them, I was like, these guys just give them the motorcycle and let them ride. I knew how to shoot, I knew lighting, I knew this and that. It just, what could I do and what needed to happen and what was happening. And so if you can stay in a conscious state of, I'm here to observe and then to a degree react. And that was the safest thing, because there's a lot of money online. There's investors trying to get this thing done. It's not a time for me to kind of show up and start feeling insecure. And it's like, I need to prove myself. This is my big gig and all that. It was more of like, I need to make this work for everyone. If Jordan and Sean watch this, not that you need my apology or anything, but thank you for being as good as you are, because it allowed me to be as not good as I was. So this is the least awkward thing Jack and I have done.
Oh yeah, this is a Tuesday for us, dude. Oh my god. Ow. Oh.
This bathtub stinks, bro.
To set the stage, we recorded in Prairie Surf Studios, downtown Oklahoma City, in the middle of winter. You go in at 6 a.m. It's pitch black. You're there all day, 7 to 7, sometimes 7 to 8, and then you leave and it's pitch black and you don't see the sun for like 2 weeks. How do you mentally stay in the game through that?
For me, it wasn't difficult to lose motivation, because I just felt like what we were making was gold from the get-go. A lot of times you start a project and the content is just not good. And so you get into the 17-hour days and you're like, I'm doing all this for a movie that's never going to be good because the content was never
good to begin with. Yeah.
Correct. But Chuck and Carrie, man, they are some writers. And I read the script and I, for lack of a better term, kind of kicked their door in. It was like, this is a great script, by the way. And so when I would do it, I just remember this is articulating the things I love to say in such a great way. So all I needed to do was just shoot it in a way that would allow it to kind of lay out.
Do you find that being a generalist is kind of a lost art? Because I feel like every guy has their style, and basically everything that they do, it's their style, it's their brand, for a lack of a better word.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a style. I don't think about it too much, and I know that's probably I'm from Oklahoma. I'm an Okie. We're known for being extremely simple people. I just have an approach. It just needs to work. If you get so heavy into what camera, the lens, which those things are very important, but you don't look for moments. I mean, that kind of sucks, because there's a lot given to you, and the actors will give you those. I mean, actors do a lot of work before they even hit the set, and they'll give you these moments, and if you can chase them, and if you can stay in a conscious train of thought of, I'm here to do this and to make this work. If you can keep doing that, I think you come out with something. But don't get lost in the information. Just kind of know that you know it. It's in there. It's in the memory bank. And when you get close enough to something that's being presented as a moment, think back of what it reminds you to, and then do close to that, and just kind of remix it. It doesn't have to be super complicated.
Nefarious was pretty successful for what it was. What's kind of your word of encouragement, word of advice to somebody who's interested in doing something similar to what you did?
Probably it's not really what you think it is. You have this idea of what you want to do when you go in the film industry. I've never met anybody that's it's what I had in my head. Honestly, if you want to do something to the effect of Nefarious, I think there were 3 elements that really made that movie work. 1, it was the content. It could have been just a script, and it would have been great. All I had to do was go in and just make sense out of just shooting, simply. So if you watch Nefarious, it's not, I'm not going to be on, Nerd Writer or Movie Wise or, Every Frame of Painting where they break down what I did, because it wasn't a masterpiece. It was just simple. Number 2, the actors were great. Sean was great for that, and Jordan was great for that. And there was an odd chemistry that you wouldn't typically. I feel like I never would have picked those 2 personally, but we put them in there and it just worked. It had what it needed, and they picked the right 2 guys to really carry the film. The third thing was really the marketing, because they went with this very untraditional marketing plan. I think honestly, really, really, really pour everything you have into the writing. If you don't get past that stage, none of it matters. If you read it and you think it's great or all this stuff, if you read it and you have so much energy trapped in your body, it needs to come out, you have something, right?
Thank you to Jason for the interview and sharing all of your wisdom with us and all of the pasta that I ate directly after that interview. His link to his socials are in the description if you want to reach out to him, if you want to hire him. He has an amazing portfolio of work, and I'll see you in the next video.